Okay, so officially welcome to both of you. Welcome to you, Yad, newly upgraded member. So hopefully you'll be joining us 3 times a week. Because most people do it and then they don't use it, which is a bit.
Gym membership.
You've got 3 times a week, then use the 3 times. That's the idea. So we were talking about these stages in awakening, and you're talking about, well, you're losing apparent sacrifice on the level of form. So I thought just quickly, there's 2 or 3 paragraphs here to read. This is section 4.1a of the Manual for Teachers, which if you stick with the program, we'll get to sort of towards the end of the year. We'll actually do the whole Manual for Teachers once we finish the text. So I think it's quite pertinent to what we were discussing in terms of having to let go and having to really go through a period of undoing, as Yeshua calls it here. So maybe if you read the first paragraph for us.
Me.
Yeah.
Right. First thing, I can't read this without laughing because. Anyways, right. Okay. First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but is usually so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it's rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognised. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He's not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
I like the bit about it need not be painful, but it's usually so experienced.
Oh. Because we struggle to let go. It's painful because you're still attached to the worldly things that are seemingly being taken away. So he's saying he's not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so this is the plan of the at-one-ment for this person's awakening, will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. So it so often happens. People start on a path like this, and then, what's happened? Things are being taken away. That's not what's supposed to happen. Things are supposed to be added to me. If you subscribe to the personal growth kind of mindset, it's like, well, you should be getting better. You should be getting more stuff, more financial abundance, more of what you want, kind of thing. And it seems to be going the opposite direction. Stuff seems to be taken away. But it's a period of undoing. You have to let go of the value that you've given to this world. We've just been through a whole bunch of lessons saying, this world is, I don't value this world at all. There's nothing in this world that I value. Beyond this world, there is a world I want, and so on. So this is part of the undoing, is to recognize that really nothing on the level of form, no matter how much you think you value it, has any real value. And so the plan often calls for some shift. There's this undoing taking place, because that's helpful for the mind to learn that these things don't really have ultimate value.
So how does this work with the universal laws? Because there are no laws but God's, and the universal laws are God's laws, aren't they? So the law of attraction, because that's the thing that a lot of spiritual teachers talk about, isn't it? So getting your emotions and your thoughts, beliefs, everything in alignment, and you'll get what you want. But if you're in this awakening stage where everything's been undone, does that mean that overrides the law of attraction?
Well, exactly. The law of attraction is still a law of the ego. I get more. The law of attraction is about getting more, as most people interpret it. Actually, the law of attraction is just a reflection of a bigger law, a deeper, true law, that the law of oneness. Actually, it's all one. So if you thinking something, then that has an effect in the whole mind, and those effects can be tangible. They can show up. So law of attraction is what the ego is focused on, but actually it's a much bigger picture than that. It's the law of perfect oneness, and the law of attraction is a result of this law of perfect oneness, because that's the only true law. The mind is really one. That's why the law of attraction works. But misappropriated by the ego, the law of attraction gets misused, because the law of attraction is then seen to be, oh, well, I can attract what I want, and what I want is something external to me, whether that's more money, a better relationship, and so the ego is misusing it, because in the end, what you really want is simply to be one with the oneness, one with the very essence of the universe, God, who you really are. And the petty treasures that this world can give you, you don't really want, because they're going to disappoint you. As he very clearly points out in yesterday's lesson, these are not what you really want. So you think you want them. Law of attraction, I think I want them. The assumption behind law of attraction is, if I do my manifestation magic, I will get what I want, and that's going to make me happy. That's the assumption. That's going to make me happy. Otherwise, why would I bother? If it's going to, and that assumption is not true. You need to question that assumption. Well, maybe actually having more money isn't going to make you happy. Maybe another special relationship isn't really going to make you happy. Maybe only the love of God is going to make you happy. So, an authentic spiritual path is saying, let's forget the trinkets and the toys of this world, and let's go for the whole thing. Let's go for the truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And so that means I must undo all of my attachments, all of my false values. All of that's got to go, because that's going to hold me bind my mind into this world, and hold me back from knowing who I really am, and surrendering into that eternal bliss that is actually what I really want. So yeah, it's a different ballgame. You go to a genuine spiritual path, like A Course in Miracles is. You're going way, way, way beyond the law of attraction. Like, that's like kindergarten stuff. That's a start. You can start with the law of attraction and start to figure out, yes, okay, maybe my mind has some power. If I change my thinking, it can actually have an effect in my reality. That's quite a useful thing to know. If you've denied that, and you're a pure scientific materialist, won't believe in the law of attraction. So it can be kind of helpful as a stepping stone. But if you really want to go for God, then you got to go way beyond that. You're going to oneness, perfect oneness, and you realize the law of attraction is just a reflection of this deeper law of oneness, of perfect love. So the mind is one. There is one whole awareness behind it all, and you want that awareness, and that awareness only. Pure formless awareness of perfect love, we call it. So the hero on the journey is quite willing to go into this and say, yeah, okay, whatever I understand it's not about what happens on the level of form. The hero's journey is not about getting stuff. The hero's journey is an experience of awakening to the true self. That's what the hero's journey is about. And that's all it's about. In the end, there's no promise of riches and fame. In the end, the hero's journey, after the cycle, you know who you are, finally. And that's the real treasure. So the challenges and the temptations that come along, are quite well described in this little section. Because you say, yeah, it's not going to be easy. You're probably not going to experience it. This is easy. It doesn't need to be experienced as painful. You could just let it go and go, oh, well, yeah, it's fine. There's no value there. So why have I got any resistance? But in practice, we still do. So then it feels, oh my God, I'm losing. And we sort of holding on to the stuff that actually the Spirit's just trying to show us is valueless and meaningless, and doesn't really help us.
This is really frustrating though. When I was a teenager, I had nothing. I could put all of my possessions in a rucksack. I had nowhere to live. I lived, hand to mouth. I was just free, and I was very free, and I trusted that everything was going to be fine. Yeah. So how come I've gone back to this now? And I'm not really after material things. Like, when is this going to, why? I know you said to me before about it's got to be conscious this time, because before it was unconscious. I was just living like that and quite happy. And then because I had children, and you start accumulating stuff, but I don't have things. I've got a lot of fabric and wool, but I haven't got things. I've never been that materialistic. So how much more needs to be taken away?
I can't answer that. I don't know. It just depends on what the plan calls for. But just if you really give it over to spirit and say, well, you show me what I want. Remind yourself, what I want is not this material stuff. What I want is the peace of God. I want full awakening here. I want enlightenment, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If that means I've got to, have nothing on the material level because that's my path. Okay, maybe.
Well, we don't. We always are looked after. I know that.
Yeah.
That we don't. We always have, food, water, whatever. There's always, no matter where you are.
So you'll be okay. But really, what's going on is a period of undoing to start with, and then there's a period of sorting out, which is also a difficult phase. So if you want to read the next one, that'll give you a clue as to what's coming up on the journey.
Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult, because having learned that the changes in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most, of the things he valued before will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he's learned to new situations as they arise. Because he's valued what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It's only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusion. The word value can apply to nothing else.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, this really, another one made me laugh because everything that happens is helpful. So everything, whether it's good or bad, there is no bad or good. It's all helpful. So we might think it's bad, but it's actually helpful. And that doesn't actually make it any easier, though, does it? Because it still feels uncomfortable.
Well, hopefully a little bit easier. If you understand, like you read this, I think this section is an absolute gem.
Yeah.
Yeshua's given us, because he's really laying out, there's a process to this awakening. The development of trust is the journey of awakening. The hero's journey is another way of framing it. So he's given us, what are the stages in this awakening? So what can you expect? Period of undoing. Yep, that's happening for me. Okay. Well, that's good, because it means I'm at step one of the process. So you see it as, part of a process rather than something, going terribly wrong. It's all normal.
But when you're working with other people, which we do, then, they've got something bad going on in their lives, and we'll say, well, actually, that's a good thing for you. It doesn't go down well, does it?
Yeah, it depends on how open they are. If they want you just to fix their problems on the level of form, then probably not. But then they probably not, the right. They're not in the right space to be hearing the message.
Yeah. Okay.
But if they're really on a spiritual path, saying, okay, well, that's actually good, because here's another lesson in letting go for you, and this is part of your awakening journey. Hopefully, that message could be quite comforting. Okay, well, I'm actually not alone in this. Many people have been through this. And if I really want to go for the whole kahuna, enlightenment, then okay, that this is what it entails. And Yeshua's even telling me, I can read this for myself in the course. He's telling me what the process is. Okay, well, I'm in the period of undoing now. Okay, well, and it doesn't need to be painful, even though, okay, well, maybe he's saying to me, I don't need to experience it as painful. I can let go and not really, suffer the pain that is really unnecessary, because it's all good. It's all actually happening for my highest good. And all that's been shown to me in this period of sorting out is that, that these things just lack value. So you must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. So a lot of these things that we valued for will merely hinder our ability to transfer what we've learned to new situations as they arise. So there's a discernment of like, okay, so what is valuable and what's valueless, and applying the Holy Spirit's lessons in that without exception. This is what the second phase is about. So you can sort out the valuable from the valueless, and then we've got to learn to generalize the lesson. Because the ego is going, oh, no, don't do that, because like then it's all going to go. Like looking into the abyss and going, really? Am I going to go there? And the spirit's saying, no, let it all go. It's fine. I'm gonna show you. I'm going to show you, the peace of God. I'm going to bring you into this extraordinary experience, and I'll handle the details. It's fine. The details of time and space and what needs to happen on the level of form. I'll handle it. I can handle this. I'll show you the way, and I'll make sure that what you truly need is provided. He does say that at some point. The Spirit will provide for all of your needs effortlessly, what you truly need without any emphasis upon them. So what you truly need, the very basics. You need a place to sleep, and you probably need a computer, an internet connection if you're going to do this work. This kind of stuff. Nothing fancy, but the Spirit can provide that. And it's just trusting, saying, okay, I'm just going to go into this. I'm really going to trust wholeheartedly that this is the case. And this happens with so many spiritual teachers. They really ask to give it all up and often go on the road. David Hoffmeister had his experience. He was, Yeshua said to him, 29, no, you're not going to have a career. Sorry, bye-bye career, in the dustbin. So he said, well, what are we going to do? So Yeshua, after a couple of years, he's just, he's been studying the Course intensely. He said, no, we're going to go on the road, do a road trip. 5 years, you're going to travel around the United States in a little car, and I'll just guide you. You're going to go wherever I tell you, and I'll sort out the finances. Don't worry about it. And he said it was miraculous. Just like, okay, where are we going to sleep tonight? That song by Amy MacDonald, "When Whistles Down, Where You Gonna Sleep Tonight?" Well, with David, it was like, yeah, where are you gonna sleep tonight? No idea. He said I'd get in my car and I'd just be directed by the spirits, and he'd have holy encounters, and then he'd go, okay, well, that's where I'm sleeping tonight. And so that was development of trust for him, wasn't it? It was like, yeah, I can really, really trust this presence in every situation. It's going to show up, and it's going to take care of all these details. And so that was preparation for him to then, dedicate his whole life to teaching this truth for 5 years of it. So that was probably a period of undoing and a period of sorting out for him. So it's quite common. How's this? Another lady, she was called Peace Pilgrim. So she was in her mid-40s. She wasn't very happy. I think she had a family and relationship. She just went, no, I'm giving this all up. I'm going to just become a pilgrim for peace, and I'm going to walk around the United States. And she did that for 30 years with nothing, no money, just the clothes on her back, a walking stick, no phone. You can imagine. I mean, that's pretty hardcore. Just let it all go and just walk. And she was looked after, and she was taken care of for 30 years. So
I had the inclination to do that, actually. A couple of times I've had the inclination of just walking and just going off and walk. But I've got commitments. I've got a son. At the time I had a son who was, under 16. So
yeah, so you've got to do what's appropriate if you've got children to care for. But psychologically, you can be in that happy, carefree state. Okay, well, I don't know. Like, Spirit, you sort this out. You guide me. What should I do? Where should I go? And if you're really letting go of your own ideas. See, this is the point. Letting go of your own ideas of what's going to make you safe. then you're allowing the Spirit to take charge and really show you. And it will show you with the miracles on the level of form that actually it's safe. It really is safe to trust it. Because remember, it's trying to get your trust. That's the whole point of this process, is it's a development of trust, more and more trust in the Holy Spirit, more and more letting go of your own ideas of what's going to work and what's going to keep you safe. And recognizing that all things, especially the difficult things, if it's difficult, if it's challenging, it seems to be a loss, then you go, no, this is actually really helpful because it's more letting go. And if I can just see it correctly, perceive it correctly, then I'm opening the way for the miracle. However that looks, I don't know how that's going to look on the level of form, but I'm really not concerned about that because I just trust completely that the Spirit will take care of it. And so that's what you're being guided into accepting this greater and greater trust with each step. So the second step's a period of sorting out. The third one, do you want to read that?
The third stage through which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment.
Yeah, there we have the letting go again. Just when you thought it was over. Here we go.
Exactly. That's what's going on again. I thought I'd let you go of everything. And it is more.
Yeah.
If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interests on behalf of truth. He has not realized yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds a happy lightheartedness instead. Where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him. I don't mind all the material stuff going. That's not a problem. I don't want to teach. That's the thing. I do not want to teach. And I know that I'm being guided to teach. But that's my ego, isn't it?
You don't want to teach what?
Anything. But
Right. Yeah, well, when there's resistance, I don't want. Well, who's the I?
That's the ego. I know. I understand that.
So it's about breaking that down and just saying, if I'm the instrument of God, I'm the teacher of God, as he calls us. You are called to teach because that's how you learn. So whether you do that formally through like, okay, well, I've actually got some students, which you have. I mean, you kind of are in that role anyway. But you asked to teach it just in your daily life, just through how you are, through your example. You're teaching a thought system to others. And to yourself, most importantly. The teacher of God is always teaching himself or herself first. And that's how we learn. If you don't teach something, then how are you going to learn it? So another period of relinquishment. Okay. Here we go again, round 2. This is interpreted as giving up the desirable. It will engender enormous conflict. So there's the pain again, the resistance. But few teachers of God escape this distress entirely because we still think that some of this is desirable. And what needs to be learned is, through this step, is that no, it's not desirable at all. So there's no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken, which is to let it all go. Well, if it's not valuable, why are you holding on to it then? Why the attachment if it's not valuable? The discernment, the sorting out requires that you then, fully let it go. Now, there's no reason why you can't fully let go and not have some material abundance as well. That is possible. That configuration can happen.
Well, because it's the experience of having the things that is of value rather than the thing itself, isn't it?
But the key thing is, not to be attached. So very often, in order to reach that kind of happy, light-hearted state, it's just not being attached, and then opening up to whatever flows, whatever comes, and being really really honest about that. No, am I still kind of attached? I think I've really let go, but have I really let go? Do I still value that? And it requires a high degree of honesty to really look at that. So the first three stages are really quite difficult. Undoing, that's how it starts. Then you've got to sort it out, work out what's valuable and what's valueless, kind of as part of this, and then a period of relinquishment again, where you've got to consciously let it go. So the period of undoing seems to happen unconsciously, or it's just being taken away. It seems to be external. Period of relinquishment is when you consciously letting go. So I'm willing to relinquish or let that go. So that's the first three stages, and you're probably in doing. Maybe it's period of relinquishment. Maybe it's somewhere in between. That's for you to figure out.
Definitely there's resistance to finally letting go. I haven't unpacked when we move, because all the stuff I've got doesn't actually mean anything. So if I look at it, I'm like, what do I want this for? So then I just leave it, and I've left it all in the boxes, because it just doesn't seem to be even worth the effort to even going through it and doing anything with it. So I just left it. So I'm looking forward to the next step of settling down.
Yeah, well, we can read that if you like. Now comes a period of settling down.
Yeah, this is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering. And the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious, and how easy to do. The teacher of God needs this period of respite. He has not yet come as far as he thinks. Yet when he is ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone. That's good news.
Yeah.
Here I am. Look, I'm here. I've joined your group. I've committed to more days of intense study.
Yeah, great. So a period of settling down. So there's a bit of respite, and it just kind of settles down, and it's quite peaceful, and then
it's
when you think it's over, you have a period of unsettling again.
It's like, why would we even choose to embark on this journey? I think it would be better like in The Matrix, where I've forgotten his name, wants to get plugged back in.
Cypher,
yeah.
Cypher, yeah. So you want to be plugged back in, because I'm so sick of this awakening journey. Well, because this is total salvation. This is freeing you from the matrix and all of its bondage and all of its pain and suffering and death. So it's worth it. Whatever you've got to go through to be free, surely it's worth it.
Well, I can understand why there's so many alcoholics and drug addicts in the world, because that's the alternative, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll just try and zone out with chemicals, and
or even the television. To be honest, it's the same thing, isn't it?
And to try and find some relief for my mind, through some means. And yes, you're saying, look, the only way is to let go. This is, enlightenment's the only way you're going to really do this. Nothing in the world, nothing the ego proposes is ever going to work. So once you recognize that fact, because it is a fact, you're like, okay, well then let's get busy on learning the only thing that's going to work. Let's learn this thought system, and then you just dedicate yourself to that, because at least you know that what you're doing is working. It's so disappointing and disheartening to be on a path where it's not going to work. I mean, that's the ego. Whatever I try, it's actually not gonna really work.
But aren't we trusting that it's going to work, though? or do you saying that we have a knowing that it's going to work?
Oh, it's there in you. There's something in you that, it resonates with this path. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. It's something in you that's going, yeah, this makes sense. And when I came to A Course in Miracles, it was like, okay, finally, we've got the truth.
Yeah.
Finally, yeah. I was
Yeah.
asking for it, finally. And I'm not quite sure I'm ready for it, but hey, let's dive in anyway. I really did feel like I'd arrived at, okay, this is the ultimate
Yeah, you're right.
truth. So I don't need to look anywhere else. Let me just dive into it and fully understand it. And 16 years later, here I still am. Every day, a deep dive into.
I'm not doing this for 16 years. I'm going to tap out before then. If it's going to be like this for 16 more years, it's not happening.
No, well, it changes. But you gotta just go. I'm in it for the long haul. The rest of my life, I'm in it, because what else am I going to do with my time here than to learn this thought system?
And this did feel. It does feel like coming home. It really does. So much of the teaching is just, I know this. I've always known this. So it's really comforting. And it's really, it is good. But
so you do know it on a level, but there's still some resistance to it. So you know it, but you don't know it. The ego doesn't want you to know it.
The ego doesn't want me to know, yeah.
So there's still a split in the resistance. And then this development of trust is the process of undoing the ego and developing more and more trust in the spirit to show you the whole way out, just to take you out of the dream entirely. So the period of unsettling, I don't know if you want to read that. You want to read the period of unsettling? Yeah, do you want to read actually, let's ask Sally to read it.
Yes.
Give her a turn. Next stage is indeed a period of unsettling.
The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All that he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless and that he did want the valuable. Yet his own sorting out was meaningless in teaching him the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his own thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. He thought he learned willingness, but now he sees that he does not know what the willingness is for. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach for a long, long time. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in his direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed.
Well, so period of unsettling, and this is really asking us to let go, lay all judgment aside. So all the ego's judgments, say, I'm not interested in these anymore. What do I really want in every circumstance? And that's peace. I want peace. So above all else, I want peace, and I'm willing to just to let go of anything and everything, all judgments that are in the way of peace. And it might take a long, long time to do that, to let go of all judgment. Just try going through a day without judging, and you'll see how hard it is. So, you know the Ho'oponopono guy, Dr. Hugh Len. He was quoted in his book. He was interviewed and said, have you ever had a day when you were able to really do the Ho'oponopono perfectly? He said, no. He said, I never. I always have a judgment coming in, and then I've got to clean on it. Then I've got to let it go using the Ho'oponopono. So he acknowledged, well, judgment's still there, and well, then all I can do is do the correction, which is the Ho'oponopono process in his tradition. So can you let go of every single judgment? And really, when we're talking about judgment here, it's anything that makes the world real. That's what he's talking about. So the Holy Spirit's judgment says, this is valuable, and only the gifts of God, only Spirit is valuable. and everything else isn't. That's the right-minded judgment. But judgment in this sense is anything that makes the world real. So you judge something, that shouldn't be happening, that's wrong. Well, what have you done? You just made that real, haven't you? You created a resistance. The Holy Spirit just goes, okay, well, maybe I can see it's of the ego, but I'm really not, I don't even have to think about it because I just recognize it for what it is. It's false. So why am I going to spend time dwelling on what's false? It simply has no existence. So it helps you to bypass the judgment in that way. It's a total letting go. Let's welcome Iona. Hi, Iona. We just took a little dip into the manual for teachers.
Great.
Yad was asking about it, so we may as well finish number 6. Do you want to read that for us? Finally, there is a period of achievement. Sorry, it's actually number 8. It's number 6 of the in the stages. Finally, there is a period of achievement.
And finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now, what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains, to be counted on in all emergencies as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is the result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is a stage of real peace, for here is heaven's state fully reflected. From here, the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this?
So that's where it ends up, which is a good place to be.
And then you die.
Well, then eventually,
there's no point
eventually you're going to lay your body aside, but that period of achievement might last for many years. Who knows?
Yeah.
You could stay in the happy dream for who knows how long, depending on how long you're when you attain the period of achievement. But it wouldn't really matter to you. You're like, well, whether I'm corporeal or incorporeal, I have the peace of God. So does it really matter? No. So I'm already in heaven, as he says. This is a stage of real peace. I'm already there. So, the thought of death, just not having a body, is really, it doesn't mean that much. I mean, Ramana was an enlightened sage in India. When he was dying of cancer, all his disciples were like, "Oh, Master, you're dying," and they said, "He says, look, have you learned nothing? I'm not going anywhere. I can't go anywhere. I'm still the self. I'll just not have a body, which is actually my natural state. So why are you so attached to my body? The body doesn't mean anything. It's like the mind and the self is primary, and well, that cannot be destroyed. This is the teaching. So the body is laid aside. The mind just goes into its our natural state is incorporeal. See, you got to turn the ego around. This is not our natural state. You're in some weird, wild delusion here. This is not what you should be at all. So the turnaround that needs to happen through this development of trust is that you need to start accepting that, actually being human is not my natural state at all. In fact, it's totally unnatural. It's a weird, bizarre reality that I've constructed from a false belief in separation. And I really don't want this anymore. Actually, I just want to be, incorporeal, pure formless awareness, incorporeal. There's no need for a body in pure formless awareness of perfect love. So bring it on. Like, why would I fear death when this is the escape from a weird, wild, wacky delusion that really has not brought me any kind of peace or happiness ever? So death is not feared at all. Death is just the death is graduation day. So hey, finally I can get out of here. Thank goodness. Some of the Buddhist monks in the Buddhist traditions, they actually die in meditation. They're like, okay, well, I'll go into my meditation and I'll just die in the meditation, and because there's no fear of it. Just die consciously, and die in a very peaceful, blissful way. No resistance to it. Because why would you resist? What's actually so what's true. Why would you resist going back to your natural state? But it takes some undoing, doesn't it? Because we've got attached to our bodies, and you think that the body, and then the things that the body values, all the material comforts and what's going to keep the body safe, all of that is somehow valuable because you think the body is valuable. See? So that's why there's got to be this undoing of the thoughts about this world. So that's a little hero's journey. That's the Course's version of the hero's journey right there. Development of trust, and it ends up in the same place where you're in this period of achievement where peace of God is yours. You've done this whole journey, got through all the challenges and temptations and the trials, gone through the abyss, and now return to the known world with these great gifts, and people will see that. And you can then be quite helpful. So your only function then would be to stay in the dream and just help people. So the Buddha was an interesting character because he kind of got it at the age of 35, which is quite young. He woke up at 35 and then he spent 45 years teaching. He just dedicated his life to teaching others. So he didn't exit anytime soon. He just said, well, the only thing to do is to teach this and dedicate my life to teaching others how to find the same peace that I've found. And so that's where it ends up. Yeah, if you really do this, you end up being a true teacher of God, and the Spirit's going to use you for that purpose, because there are so many people who are unawakened who need teaching to help them to undo their own egos. So someone who's done that becomes really useful for the Spirit, an instrument of the awakening.
I better release my resistance to teaching then, hadn't I?
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm going to be stuck here.
Yeah.
Not able to move forward.
Why would you resist it? It's just,
don't know.
It's lovely.
Really
teaching the truth. I can't really. I mean, this is why I spend so much time on it. What else are you going to do with your time here? I mean, what else is more valuable than teaching the truth? I can't really think of anything. And yes, you're saying, well, there's nothing else. This is it. The truth is everything. So dedicate your life to the truth, and you'll be happy, because the truth is with you all the time. As you teach it, you must learn it and you must know it. The more you teach it, the more you become so certain. And after years and years of doing this, this truth is so firmly established in my mind that I just know it is the absolute truth. And that doesn't mean the ego doesn't have a go every now and then, but it's just no, you know the truth. Stop it already. You absolutely know what it is. So just go back to that. Remind yourself that the truth is true and nothing else is true. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful.
Very helpful, thank you.
So it's there anytime you want to read it. If you're going through another phase, consult section 4.1a of the Manual for Teachers. Okay, so now I'm in the period of relinquishment. Okay, all right, okay. Just a reminder as you go through this, because it's quite a useful reference point in your journey. So let's have a look at the quote, shall we? And do some reading, and then we'll go into the lesson. So let's ask Yad if you can read the inspirational quote.
The pursuit of truth and beauty is a sphere of activity in which we're permitted to remain children all our lives. By Albert Einstein.
Yeah, amazing a scientist was saying that, because he was actually in his latter years became more of a philosopher than a scientist. Actually, started saying these these very wise things, which just shows you science can be a path to the truth as well, if you allow it to awaken you. Okay, and then if you read the first couple of paragraphs.
Today's quote is a reminder from a scientist that it's only through a sense of childlike innocence and wonder that we find truth and beauty. By contrast, when we think we know what truth is, we block the real truth and the beauty that inevitably accompanies it from arising in our awareness. and cling to an illusion that we think is the truth.
Okay, any thoughts on that? Make sense? So we block the real truth if we think we know what the truth is, and the beauty that it accompanies it, which is a spiritual beauty. It's an inner beauty, and we cling to an illusion we think is the truth. So, going back to that idea of the perceptual problem, I saw you liked that video. It sent out a couple of weeks ago. You have a perceptual problem, and this is the recognition that opens your mind to the truth. If you think you know what's going on, you think you've got it handled, then you block the real truth because the ego has convinced you of its version of the truth. So the acknowledgement that I don't really know what's going on, I have a perceptual problem here that's really deep-seated, fundamental, is a starting point for really opening your mind to truth. I mean, wanting to really see the truth. Okay, so next one, Sally.
But the lie that runs deep in our subconscious mind keeps poisoning our psyches and bringing ugliness into our seeming reality, because what is false must make ugliness, and what is true creates beauty. How do I escape the psychic prison in which all the lies I've believed have trapped me? You may well ask. Today's quote and workbook lesson hold the key to the door of the prison in which you have imprisoned yourself. Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it, that we imprison ourselves?
So prison for your mind, as Morpheus said in the Matrix. This is a prison for your mind. That's the whole. That's what's going on, but it can only keep you in prison if you believe in it. So we are prisoners by our own belief. The world itself can't imprison us; it's our belief in it. And so this is where the hope of freedom comes in. Okay, well, I don't have to believe in this. I can open up to a transcendent truth outside of the matrix, outside of form, that's beyond us. Open myself to truth and beauty coming from another dimension. So then Iona, if you go to the next one, why is that, you may ask again? Because
Can you make it bigger, please, Jono?
yeah, no problem. Is that okay?
Thank you. Why is that, you may ask again? Because if you think you know what the truth is, you won't ever question the seeming reality of the world or your perceptions of it in the certainty that you are right. On the other hand, with a child's curiosity and innocent wondering, you will continually ask questions and be open to receiving true answers. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, any thoughts on that before we carry on?
Yeah, I realized that, well, it's not a new realization, but I would always nod. Oh yeah, absolutely. As if I knew what that person was talking about. Because I didn't want to make myself look stupid. But now I am getting better at asking questions. And often the response is, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
So
asking questions is the start of really awakening. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. It's like, okay, so like, what does that actually mean? Or, excuse me asking, because usually someone else, if you're in an audience, someone else will have that question too.
Yes.
You're not the only one. So you stop the self-protection, like people trying to pretend you got it handled. Is the ego? No, I'm absolutely. I know what's going on, And actually they don't, but they're too scared to ask. So it's going beyond that. So that the arrogance and the pride of the ego will stop you from doing that, because the ego's like, no, you got it handled. So even if you don't have it handled, pretend you have, because you've got to show that you've got it handled. The questions show, well, actually, I don't really know, and it's okay not to know. And that's actually what you want. You want to be in that unknowing, like, okay, I don't really know. I'm clueless. I don't know anymore. And in the end, this is where it takes you. That great quote from Isaac Newton. Seems like I've just been like a child on the seashore playing around with pebbles and shells when the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. I mean, there's probably the most brilliant scientific mind, one of the most learned, erudite people of his generation, saying, I'm clueless. I don't really know. I've just been fiddling around. So that is actually wisdom and humility. The greatest minds, like Einstein, probably also would have said, like, really, do I actually really know, after all these years of my theoretical physics and theory of relativity, and he's one of the greatest scientists, maybe possibly the greatest scientist ever. Do I really understand it? And he probably would have gone, no, I don't, honestly, if I'm honest about it. Because there's something, the great ocean of truth, as Isaac Newton alluded to, that's so far beyond the ego's understanding that you can't really, you can't intellectually and logically conceive of it, really. The logic, I guess, will ultimately take you there, which is why these scientists eventually do kind of get to this awareness of something way, way beyond, the science. But then it stops. It's like, okay, that's my logic and my intellect's taken me so far, but it can't take me into an experience of the truth. An experience of the truth is not logical, intellectual, it's mystic. This is why we call it a mystic experience. It's a total immersion into this love and light that is awaiting us. It's always been there, and that's not something you can logically explain or intellectually explain. It's just experiential. So the opening of the mind, the childlike innocence, opens you to that experience. That's why it's valuable. Okay, so childlike innocence, read that, and then we'll go.
Childlike innocence has been one of the essential characteristics of enlightened masters throughout the ages. They did not assume they knew the truth and kept questioning until they found the answer to the only real question which is, who am I? For example, Yeshua said, as recorded in Matthew 3:18, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.
So he's telling us straight, you've got to become like little children, who are innocent, who are curious, who are asking questions, who are not saying they know everything. And they're generally much happier than adults. Children are just, I don't have all this knowledge, and I'm actually okay about it. I can just be happy and curious and innocent. So we use the analogy of children to try and give us an idea of what that state might look like.
Yeah.
So let's cycle it back to Yad. Yad, if you read the next one.
Another example comes from the Hans Christian Andersen story about the emperor's new clothes, in which all the adults in a city believed the lie the emperor had been fooled into believing by the swindler tailors, and took a child to point out the truth: the emperor wasn't wearing any clothes.
That's a lovely, it's a parable, really. So, look at how this falsity of the ego, the arrogance and the pride, just delude us. And then it takes a child with this childlike innocence just to say, but the emperor has no clothes. And guess what? The emperor still has no clothes. You were saying the politicians yesterday. It's like the emperor's still got no clothes. if you're willing to see it. It just takes an awakened mind to see it. Otherwise, you think, oh no, they kind of they've got clothes and they sort it because that's the appearance, but actually it's not the case. They really don't know what they're doing. Okay, and then Sally, the next one. Now we go into the allegory of the cave again, which we looked at a couple of weeks ago.
Socrates, the ancient Greek teacher of Plato, who wrote the Elegy of the Cave that I uncovered in a previous email, was famous for asking his students probing questions to explore their underlying beliefs, a method of teaching now known as the Socratic method. Yeah, that sounded really interesting. I wanted to look that up today. I haven't had time yet.
So he would just ask questions, which is a good teaching technique. So someone asks a question and you ask another question. So you say, well, why am I suffering? Let's say, I'll give you an example of a great example of that. Apparently, Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, he was quite enlightened himself. At some stage, he was struggling with something, so went and saw Ramana, who was like probably on another level. Ramana was just like in bliss all the time. So he goes and sees Ramana, and he's kind of telling him some of his troubles, and then Ramana just says, "Who suffers? Who suffers?" That's the question. And then, Yogananda thinks about it and goes, well, I guess it must be me. And Ramana says, so who's me? And, so we go with that line of questioning. It will ultimately take you into the truth. You keep asking questions. Ask the question, who suffers? And that's going to ultimately reveal the ego.
A lot of people.
The Socratic method is quite a good one to uncover truth.
A lot of people say, I must love myself, as though that's their main problem. And I always say, who's loving themselves? And it never makes sense to me.
Yeah, who's loving who here? So what, is there a split in your mind? The Eckhart Tolle, when he woke up, had this experience of just going, I can't live with myself anymore. This was his thought, because he was so desperately miserable. I can't live with myself. And then he realized by saying that there was a duality in his mind. There's an I that can't live with myself. So who's the I and who's the myself? And he realized that they were two separate entities, and that actually his myself, little self, was not real. And he said, I can't really explain it intellectually. It was just an experience, a mystic experience where he just kind of got it, and it all dropped in, and the energy was so intense he passed out. Woke up the next morning, it's like, oh wow, the ego's gone. I don't know what, it's just everything's light and clear and free. And he's walking around London, and he's going, wow, I just feel so much peace, and like seems kind of like a dreamlike state. And he's not sure what's happened to him. And then of course he starts trying to figure it out, and he realizes, okay, well, I've actually had a spiritual awakening. This is what's happened. And the rest is history. So this is common.
You go through all the periods of undoing, though, of losing everything and then losing everything again.
It seems not. No, Ramana didn't either.
No.
Ramana just woke up 16. So Ramana's story was, he's a 16-year-old boy. He's doing his homework in his room upstairs somewhere in India, and suddenly he goes through this intense fear of death. I think his father died a couple of years before that. So he goes through this intense fear of death for a few minutes, like intense, overwhelming fear. But then he doesn't stop at the fear. He just asked the question. So his method to get there was inquiry. Well, who's fearing here? Who's fearing? Who's fearing? And eventually the fear just left him. So like, well, who's fearing is not even there. The self that's fearing is not the real self. He got that. And he went into a state of superconscious bliss and pretty much stayed there the rest of his life. So when it was so easy for us mere mortals. However, I would probably say that that's probably coming from previous lifetimes, almost certainly. He would have been some guru or something in previous life, and he would have been pretty advanced. This was his, had just one or two more things to undo, and he comes back and at a very young age drops into that state of mind because he'd done the preparation. So he'd done a lot of work in previous lifetimes, almost certainly. There's no way of proving that, but that's my theory. So maybe in previous lives he'd done it, and he'd gone through all the undoing But remember, this is given, Jesus is giving us this teaching. This isn't for enlightened sages who like just drop into it and get it. This is for mere mortals who've got to do some work. Go, okay, so generally this is how it's going to go. There might be rare exceptions, like a Romana or an Eckhart who just kind of gets it. But generally, this is how it's going to go for you if you're on this path. So there are many paths. There's many ways. Eckhart had to go through 29 years he was really miserable for 29 years.
I'm 55, so 29 doesn't sound like long at all.
No, but he was really depressed and suicidally, he was not a happy chappy at all.
No,
For his 29 years of existence up to then. So he had to suffer for 29 years to have that awakening. So I guess that was his path, and it was because the suffering was so intense, he just couldn't bear it anymore. That finally that was then the crack in the shell of the ego that cracked it open and allowed this true self to reveal itself. This path that Yeshua is asking us to go on is much more iterative. Okay, so just slowly, gently, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna learn systematically and progressively, and then you're gonna go through these stages that he's pointed out here that are likely to unfold because you're doing it systematically and progressively. Eckhart, it just happened to him. He said, I was in control of it. That just enlightenment kind of happened. I wasn't on a spiritual path. I wasn't really aware of any of this. I just was deeply miserable. It was so miserable that just cracked open my ego.
He must have done past life stuff as well then to
Quite
get
possibly.
to that point.
Quite possibly, we don't know.
And the same with David Hawkins, yeah.
You can only speculate, but it's certainly. To no one is on a deep spiritual path. It's not your first time here. You kind of have a sense of that. Okay, I'm an old hander. I've done this before, and I'm a bit tired of it. And so that's kind of old soul getting tired of the illusion is what is the catalyst for your awakening, because you're just tired of it, and like part of you knows, well, it's just the same old illusion of time and space, which is I've done this before. It's the same old. Actually, does this really offer me something, or do I want? Does my heart really yearn for something much deeper? Young souls apparently oh no, I've still got to go learn all the lessons and try everything out in this new reality. Oh, cool, yeah, great. I could have this, I could have that, and you have to have the experience of, okay, well, that hasn't really worked, in order to recognize that it's not going to work. So that's why people tend to come to A Course in Miracles later in life rather than younger, because it's the experience that it's this hasn't really worked, and therefore I'm looking for some kind of way out, and then you find the Course, and that's often only happens in midlife, having experienced the downsides of the ego. Okay, so next paragraph. Yad, if you can read that, and then.
Where are we up to? Only.
In fact, to refer back to the allegory of the cave.
Oh, in fact, to refer back to the allegory of the cave, Socrates would never have escaped from the cave if he hadn't been willing to question the reality of the images he saw on the cave wall. Only because he was willing to ask the question, where are these coming from, when everyone else blindly accepted them as true, was he able to turn around and see that the images were being produced by puppet masters prancing around in front of a fire. A realization that then led him to escape the prison of the cave, to explore the greater reality of the world outside the cave.
So he had to question. That's the start of it. Question the reality of the images. Question the paradigm. Everyone else believed in it, but he was willing to question that belief. So, well, just because everyone believes in it doesn't make it true necessarily. And if you understand the ego, it's in fact, it's likely that it's not true if everyone's believing it. You don't generally find truth at mass rallies and concerts, and you find illusion. The truth is because it's so extraordinary. The truth is so challenging for the ego that the people most people aren't ready for it. So, hence we have 3 people on the call rather than hundreds. If I was teaching everyone how to make a fortune instantly, I might have 100 people. I don't know.
Thousands.
People get attracted to that, but a deep exploration of truth is you have to be ready for it. There's a certain kind of person who's ready. You'll get attracted to it. So.
Well, it's not a comfortable journey, is it? So you don't really,
No, it's quite difficult to market. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, so you're going to go on a hero's journey, and this is going to take you into the abyss of death and rebirth. Like, how good does that sound? Oh, yes, please take me to the abyss. I'd like to go through death. It's not really that easy to market, is it?
No,
But
and-
to be honest, that's what's going to happen. It's not all going to be roses, but then do you really believe any of that BS, that it's all going to be roses? I mean, come on, at this stage, surely you start to wise up at a point and go, really? Is that just marketing spiel that's designed to sell something to me? Another fake course or something that the ego is holding out to me that's going to make my reality and the dream better. And at some point you go, okay, I just want the real deal here. Okay, if that means that it's going to be challenging and there's going to be trials and tribulations and challenges, well, do I really expect this to be easy? I mean, do I really expect that to awaken from the whole dream should just be like, oh, well, I just snap my fingers and there we go? Do I really think that? Or actually, deep down, I know, yeah, well, if this is the ultimate truth, it's probably going to take some doing. So, all right, I'm up for it. I'm going to take on the journey, whatever comes. I'm ready for it. And in the Matrix, Neo at the end of it, he's being really given a kicking by the ego, and he turns around, he's like, does his little kung fu move, and he goes, "Come." He's like, "Okay, bring it on. I'm ready. I'm not going to run away anymore." And so it requires, a great deal of courage to say that. Most people, oh no, I don't want to take on the ego. No, I just rather the known world that seems to be somewhat comfortable than going through all of this. That sounds terrible. But on the other side of it is what you truly want. You see, so are you ready to go through that because of what you truly want? That's really the question. So a temporary discomfort for eternal bliss. I think that's a good trade-off, personally, but not everyone does. All right, so someone else, Talia, if you can read the cave symbolizes our minds.
Okay, the cave symbolizes our minds that are enslaved by the belief that the images we see on the screen of the world are real. And Socrates presents someone who is spiritually awakening and therefore an outlier in our society, who is willing to become like a little child, as Yeshua puts it, and question the reality of the world he perceives. So carry on.
Yeah.
If you're reading these words, you're probably one of those outliers, as Malcolm Gladwell called us, and may have doubts about why you're questioning the reality of the images that we call the external world. You may have even had times when you wonder if you're going insane, but I assure you that you're not. Yeah, I used to have times where I used to think, somebody's going to turn up in the white coats and just take me away.
Now, am I losing the plot here? Because everyone else seems to be, believing in these images. Am I the only one who's going, really? Is this true? But in a world of insanity, if everyone's insane, then the sane are going to be seen as insane. That's how it goes, isn't it? Because it's an upside down thought system. So the outliers who are actually awakening and awakening to sanity are seen as insane, and the insane seem to be the sane ones, and that's how the ego's thought system goes. So these insane people chained to and just watching these false images parading in front of them. They're going, oh, well, you're the insane one, to Socrates, but actually they're insane because they're looking at images that aren't true, and he's just realized that. So that's how that's how it's always gone. There's people with spiritual awakening are always outliers in society because most people are asleep. And so they come in and they're teaching a different truth, and people go, "Have you gone mad? Well, how can you doubt the reality of the images you see? Yeah, look there. There's a tree. There's a person. There it is. I mean, how can you say it's not there?" Okay, well, start going into quantum, and you start going, well, actually, the science is telling us that it's not there. Science is telling us it's only in your perception that it's there. It has no absolute reality. So science now has verified what the mystics have always known. So Iona, if you read the next one, you're merely waking up from an insane dream.
You are merely waking up from an insane dream and escaping from the prison of the insane beliefs and resulting false perceptions that govern this world, as every spiritual master throughout history has done. So you're in the great company of masters like Yeshua and Socrates, if this is what's happening for you, and know that, just like they did, you cannot fail to escape the prison of this world, because the source of what's causing you to question and try to escape from it is eternal and therefore unfailing.
So that's a very comforting message, I think. It's like, yeah, they had to go through it too. People, I think we forget, we go, oh, well, Yeshua was always enlightened and awakened. No, he wasn't. He had to go through his own journey.
True.
So did Socrates. They had to go through some pretty intense stuff. Socrates ultimately had to take poison. Yeshua was crucified. It's like, okay, something serious, Is this what awakening leads to? Okay, the one was forced to take poison because the Athenian rulers gave him a choice and said, you either take poison or you leave. You banished from the city forever. And he went, well, fine. I'm not gonna leave my home city. I'm not a coward. I'll take the poison.
Hemlock.
Yeah, hemlock, and Yeshua was crucified. So neither of them met a particularly good end on the level of form, and yet they were awakened. They were awakening and awakened masters. So fortunately,
maybe there'll be a better ending for Eckhart Tolle.
Well, I think so. In this time, we're very fortunate because people no longer ask you to drink poison or crucify you if you're awakening. It's actually kind of we have. It's still not accepted by the majority that spiritual awakening is it, but it's tolerated. You can practice it, and no one's going to try and string you up. Or in years gone by, I mean, sure. It would have been like you're a witch.
Yeah,
you're going to be burnt at the stake. So we live in an age where actually we can do this freely and without persecution, and no one's going to string us up, and we're free to believe what we choose to believe, which is hasn't always been the case in history. So we're very, very lucky to have this amazing teaching, to be free to learn it, and we've got the technology to facilitate it. Amazing. I mean, if this isn't the best time and place for spiritual awakening that's ever been on this planet, I would be very surprised. Because look at what's now possible. So let's use it. I mean, it's like, okay, you can do this. No one's going to crucify you. No one's going to make you drink poison for this. You can believe what you choose to believe. We have that freedom now in our society, fortunately. Which you could argue is still under threat because there's always forces that don't want you to be free thinking. But in a modern Western society, freedom of thought and freedom of speech are fundamental human rights. They can't be taken away. So. So we're very lucky. So let's use the time to just get the job done. Really, that's my attitude. Just let's do it and follow the same way as all the masters have done, without necessarily the downside of you don't have to be crucified or drink poison or any of the other sticky ends some of them have met, because that's just not likely to happen in this day and age. You can just have a gentle laying aside of the body when you're ready to depart, and while you're here, use this technology we have to teach people, to reach people you would just never been able to reach before. is quite inspiring, I think. So make it a happy dream. Be a teacher of God in a happy dream. Okay, so that brings us to the lesson for today, 131, which is quite a long one. So we'll try and crack on with it. 15 paragraphs. Be up for that. So I have to go at 3:30. So let's see if we can get it done before then. All right. So let's just copy paste this into a Word document. We'll make it a bit bigger. Is that big enough for you to read, Anna? Do you want to make it a bit bigger?
Yeah, that's good.
Read that. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. So if you want to start reading paragraph 1, Iona.
No one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. Failure is all about you while you seek for goals that cannot be achieved. You look for permanence in the impermanent, for love where there is none, for safety in the midst of danger, immortality within the darkness of the dream of death. Who could succeed where contradiction is the setting of his searching and the place to which he comes to find stability? But apart from that, all's good.
I don't think that needs any translation, which is also good. So
No.
this is actually going to be quite an easy one. There isn't that much to translate in this. Any thoughts on that?
Well, he's saying that we're all looking in the wrong places. We're fiddling with the shells on the shore where the sea of peace
Radiation of truth.
lapping behind us.
Now, interesting, you had that little mystic experience on the beach. Quite profound, really.
Yeah.
That analogy, sea, ocean, it does sort of point us to the ultimate truth. Permanence in the impermanent, love where there is none, safety in the midst of danger, immortality within the darkness of the dream of death. Who could succeed where contradiction is a setting of his searching and the place to which he comes to find stability? So, how can we actually succeed in a dualistic world where there's apparently contradiction going on? If we're looking in the wrong place, we're never going to find what we seek.
I realized this morning that individuality has duality in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I did actually point that out in the Art of Letting Go course, but
that was so long ago.
It was. And it's got division as well, division and duality. You are in division of duality. There we go. It's right in there, isn't it?
In division of duality. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah.
That's the foundation of the word.
Yeah.
So you value your individual self while you're valuing being in the division of duality. In other words, you're valuing a split in the mind and you're valuing separation. So our culture that values, the individual self so highly is just delusional. Valuing the division and the duality. Okay, so any thoughts on number 1? Happy with that? A nice opener. Some more letting go to do then. So Sally, you want to read number 2 for us? Kindly.
Goals that are meaningless are not attained. There is no way to reach them, for the means by which you strive for them are meaningless as they are. Who can use such senseless means and hope through them to gain in anything? Where can they lead? What could they achieve that offers any hope of being real? Pursuit of the imagined leads to death. because it is the search for nothingness. And while you seek for life, you ask for death. You look for safety and security, while in your heart you pray for danger and protection of the little dream you made. Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
Literally.
No, literally. Oh, Yeshua, he's giving it to us straight again.
Oh.
So any thoughts on that? Apart from Jesus?
It's not very encouraging, is it? It's like, Jesus, yes. Yes.
What are you hitting me with now? Jesus.
Yeah. Pursuit of the imagined leads to death. Very clear. And when you seek for the life, you ask for death. Yeah, please, can I die? Yes, I choose that route. I'm going to keep making decisions to choose that route until I die. That's so crazy.
It is, but that is the ego's. That is the ego's thought system right there. It's a death wish. David Hoffman's like, this is a death wish. How can you possibly find any kind of happiness in a death wish? It's ultimately going to kill you. It's not possible. So don't look for safety and security there, because actually this belief in death and guilt and fear and attack and everything goes with it is what's dangerous. That belief is the dangerous belief. It's ultimately going to kill you. So why would you want to believe in it? So you look for safety and security. So people go, oh no, I want to make myself safe. While in your heart, this is the self-deception. You pray for danger and protection for the little dream you made. So if you go back to that yesterday, that instrument for peace diagram, if you recall, at the very core of it is the prayer of the heart. And the prayer of the heart for the ego, this is what he's saying it is. The prayer of the heart is, well, I'm saying I want to be safe. Now, your thing was all about safety, wasn't it? Yes, wasn't it? Yeah. So you're saying you want to be safe, but actually in your heart, you're praying for protection for the little dream you made. That's the true desire or prayer of the ego. Oh, let my separate self be maintained no matter what. That's the prayer of the ego, the desire of the ego. So he's just pointing that out very clearly here. Do not be deceived by this. So you think you want safety, but actually all you want to do is continue in your delusional dream, and all of your attempts at finding safety in this world are deluded. Think of all the protections and the insurance policies and protective clothing and vaccines and on it goes. And he's going, none of that's going to work. And actually what you're doing when you believe in all of that magic is you praying for protection for the little dream that you made. You want the individual self to be real. In your heart, you pray for danger and protection for the little dream you made. So that then is the core desire of the ego. And until you're willing to really look at this and say, yeah, okay, I need to be really honest. This requires a level of self-honesty that is beyond most people, because it's quite brutal. It's like, whoa, okay, what is he saying here? But it's true. Look at what we do in our lives. Why do we die? Because we choose to die. Why do we suffer? Because we choose to suffer on a level. By wanting to maintain the separate self, we choose death and suffering. That's just how it goes. Because the separate self believes in separation, and separation is what leads to suffering and death. So you cannot have a separate self and also be free of suffering and death. It's not possible. So pursuit of the imagined leads to death, as he's saying. So this is one of his stick lessons. Like, right, we're going to give it to you straight. Blah! Whack you over the head, smack you in the face to wake you up from the stupor of believing in a death wish. because that's what we've done. Okay, so any other thoughts on that? And what he's saying here, what I like about this is he's connecting the goals in this world, the meaningless desires, with death. So like, okay, you pursue all these goals and you think it's kind of innocent, but it's not. You're pursuing death by pursuing these worldly goals because you're valuing what is not true, and you're praying then for safety and security for the little self that you made. So the desires of the ego and the fears of the ego keep the ego intact. And then you're praying for danger and protection for the little dream you made, even while on the surface level, you go, oh, no, I want to be safe. No, but do you really? Or actually, do you want your separate self above all else? And you're willing to pay the price of death for it. Because that's the price of the separate self, suffering and death. And he's just saying to us, don't, this is madness. This is not a price that you really want to pay. Because in truth, there is no price to pay. Truth is given freely to you, and you can just accept it freely, and there's no sacrifice or loss required at all. Okay, so number 3. Happy to move on. Any questions or comments about number 2? Desire and fear. Right? Remember, desire and fear are the terrible twins of the ego that keep the death wish going. So don't feed it with desire and fear.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Is that me? Yeah.
I think so. Or is it Yad? Yad, have you read? I think it might be Yad, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yet searching is inevitable here. For this you came, and you will surely do the thing you came for. But the world cannot dictate the goal for which you search, unless you give it power to do so. Otherwise, you are still free to choose a goal that lies beyond the world and every worldly thought, and one that comes to you from an idea relinquished yet remembered, old yet new, an echo of a heritage you forgot, yet holding everything you really want.
Okay, maybe that just needs a bit of translation. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's make that a little bit more flowing and understandable. So go from the top. Yet searching is inevitable here. That's fine. For this you came, and you will surely do the thing you came for. I think that's also fine. The world cannot, I don't know why they separate can or not there, do that frequently. Cannot dictate the goal for which you search unless you give it the power to do so. So although it's an illusion, ego seems to be in charge here, only you, it's still up to you. You give it the power to dictate the goal for which you search through your own belief. So the one thing the ego cannot remove is your power of choice. Your power of decision remains your only hope really in this world. You can decide differently. You can choose differently. So otherwise you are you're still free. Let's just reverse that order, I think. You're still free to choose a goal that lies beyond the world and every worldly thought. So saying, look, the bar is set above the world. We're going for what's way. That's why I said, at the beginning, this is way beyond the world of attraction. Law of attraction is, oh no, you're going to value stuff in the world. He's saying, no, go beyond the world and every worldly thought. So wanting to manifest whatever you think you want in the world is a worldly thought, isn't it? This is taking you outside of the whole construct of the matrix. Lies beyond the world and every worldly thought, one that comes to you from an idea relinquished yet remembered, old yet new, an echo of a heritage forgotten, I would say. If you want to keep heritage, it's like the idea of an inheritance. What's your heritage? The heritage forgotten of.
What's promised to you, isn't it? It's what's been promised to you, the heritage, isn't it?
Well, it's what's truly yours. An echo of what's truly yours. But it's quite nice. I think I quite like that. The heritage forgotten. It's got some poetry there. So should we keep it?
Mm.
No, because otherwise I'm not sure. We'd have to put in a couple of words here of what is truly an echo of what is truly yours, forgotten. That doesn't really work. An echo of what is truly yours and you forgot. That's how we translate it. So it's a lot more words. What do you think? Leave it as it is. Okay. It holding everything you really want.
Hang on. Got a visitor.
Okay. So any thoughts on that paragraph? Can you what I generally ask is if you can give me a summary of each paragraph. So it's like, okay,
Oh,
so
okay. All right. Okay.
what's the key takeaway from that paragraph?
Well, that you knew all this on some level already anyway, and that you're just being reminded of it.
Yeah. And you are free. So the only remaining freedom you have in this world as a seeming prisoner of the ego is you have the freedom to choose. You can choose a goal that is beyond the world and every worldly thought, and not get sidetracked by all the ego's distractions and illusions. And that's your choice. You say, well, the world's so distracting, and well, who allows himself or herself to be distracted? You do, because you choose those distractions. And so this requires focus and vigilance. So no, I'm just not going to be distracted. I'm going to see that these worldly goals are not really offering me anything, and actually, what I really want is this deeper truth that I'm starting to remember. This echo of a heritage forgotten. It's just in my mind. It's there's something here, and I really want it, and I'm willing to go for this and only this, and let go of all value I've given to the world. Okay, moving swiftly on to number 4. Sally?
Be glad that search you must. Be glad as well to learn you search for heaven and must find the goal you really want. No one can fail to want this goal and reach it in the end. God's Son cannot seek vainly, though he try to force delay, deceive himself and think that it is hell he seeks. When he is wrong, he finds correction. When he wanders off, he is led back to his appointed task.
Okay, so that needs a little bit of translation. So, be glad that search you must. Be glad that you must search, maybe. Glad that you must search. Be glad as well to learn you search for heaven. Remember what heaven is?
Formless awareness?
It's a state of
Pure formless awareness.
Search for the state of pure formless awareness. Which makes it very practical. It's just a state of mind, which is available to you now, actually. You must find the goal you really want. You want to read it and then translate as we go?
No one can fail but want this goal and reach it in the end. God's Son
is?
The extension of love.
Yeah. We'll call it perfect love's extension.
Perfect love's extension cannot seek vainly, though he tried to force delay. It.
When I've come across God's Son, I always just think it's me, because aren't we God's Son?
Yeah, you're an extension, but it's really referring to your mind.
John,
Okay.
can I introduce you?
Oh, yeah, by all means.
This is
Go ahead.
Judy, friend Judy from Findhorn, and
Oh,
I was saying
Hi, Judy.
you're going to come to Findhorn in
Oh, I
August.
see.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Very nice to meet you.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry to intrude. I have to rush, and Iona's been really kind
Yeah.
talking. Okay.
See
Bye-bye.
you. Thank
All
you.
right, Judy.
Aye,
See you in a couple of months, hopefully.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Very lovely.
Yeah.
Open mind, very
Yeah.
spiritually aware. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you'll meet her.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the trip. The perfect love's extension cannot seek vainly, though try to force delay. Deceive itself. So what we do is we change the him to it. Because actually what we're talking about here is the mind. So it's referring to us in our true nature as mind.
So why do you not put mind then? Why do you make it?
Well, extension, perfect love's extension through.
Because it's still kind of, it's not that clear when you say perfect love's extension. If I read that, it would make no difference to reading it, the original, to me as a
God's
newcomer.
Son.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Well, just because I'm coming to it clean, fresh. I hadn't been from the beginning, but
So you're the extension of perfect love, and that's just a feeling. Perfect love is a presence. It's a feeling. It's a state of mind.
but that doesn't. Perfect love's extension doesn't mean to me that that's me, whereas God's Son means that's me to me.
Oh,
You see what I
okay.
mean? So that's my perspective coming to it
Yeah.
with fresh eyes.
So it's just learning that the perfect love's extension is you, and the language itself, perfect love's extension, implies that you are perfect love. What else could you be except perfect love if you're the extension of perfect love? This is why we do the translation. So God's Son, a lot of people have issues with that because Son of God, it's Christian. They might say, well, there's only one Son of God. It brings up the whole Christian teaching, and really a perversion of the teaching was that Jesus is the only Son of God. I mean, that was just a total twisting and distortion of the truth. And the idea of son sort of implies father, and we kind of go into some kind of paternalistic idea related to parents and children in this world. And actually, none of that's really true. We are just an extension of a presence of perfect love. And that is then the true nature of our mind. So perfect love's extension points us to the reality of our mind, I think more directly than God's Son. And as you get into it, you might find that starts working for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just be open to the translations and see where they take you. So though it try to force delay, deceive itself and think that it is hell it seeks. So
Itself.
it also does away with the gender issue, because it's one. What we're really talking about here is the mind. I think that it is what's hell?
Victimhood.
Yeah. So this mind, it's actually the extension of perfect love. It's genderless. It doesn't really have a gender, because that's the truth of who we all really are. Now, deludes itself into believing that it's male or female, that it's a person, and that victimhood is what it wants. It wants to be a victim. And that how about is victimhood it seeks, and that how about it wants to be a victim? I think that's a bit more direct. Because that's what we're really saying, isn't it?
I know what yad means. When you first come into it, it's a bit of a brain stretch because you're changing one term for another term, and the other term doesn't quite sit yet. I think as I've done it, it's gradually, you know, the pure formless awareness thing is gradually sinking in now, makes sense now. I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a now reinterpretation of these words that you might have read many times. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is now opening maybe a different interpretation and a different experience, which is why we do the translation, of course, is to open you to that. And you can always read the original. So, you know, in the translated versions, I include the original, so you can read the original, and then you can read the alternative. So you can still choose which version works for you better. So happy with that? Think that and think that it wants to be a victim.
Yeah. When he is wrong, when it is wrong, it finds correction. When it wanders off, it is led back to his appointed task. Okay. Be glad that you must search. Be glad as well to learn you search for this state of pure formless awareness and must find the goal you really want. No one can fail to want this goal and reach it in the end. Perfect love's extension cannot seek vainly, though it try to force delay. Though it try?
Yeah, maybe though it tries to force delay, that tries to delay itself. Force delay, maybe. Tries to delay itself.
Though it tries to delay itself, deceive itself, and think that it wants to be a victim. When it is wrong, it finds correction. When it wanders off, it is led back to its appointed task.
To delay and deceive itself and think it wants to be a victim. Finds correction. When it is wrong, it finds correction. It
Right itself.
Finds correction. It seeks correction, finds, seeking and finding a different. I think let's leave that. I can't think of a better way of saying it. When it wanders off, it is led back to its appointed task. So the idea is that, you know, it is being led by something else, which is the Holy Spirit. It's going to correct it. It's led back to its appointed task, which is simply to let it go and merge itself with your formless awareness again. Okay, so I'm going to give a little summary of number 4. What's he saying in there?
To remember that you're searching for pure formless awareness, and ultimately it's the goal you really want. And if you come off this path, then you'll find correction is available. And then you'll be led back if you allow it.
Yeah. So it's a continuous course correction, but like you know, that probably heard the airplane analogy. You know, an airplane's off course a lot of the time, and then it's these little corrections. Or, you know, minorly off course correct, bring it back on course. And so you want to get really tuned in to the right way, and then, you know, if you depart, you just correct. So okay, so I had an ego thought there, maybe a few ego thoughts, and negative emotions started arising, but I can do some letting go, and I can correct and get back on track. And that's what he's training us to do with these workbook lessons, to do that very quickly and easily. Okay, happy with number 4?
Yeah.
Number 5, I think it's Iona again.
No one remains in hell. Do you want me to translate as we go or read the whole thing?
I think let's translate as we go, just to speed it up a bit.
No one remains in victimhood, for no one can abandon its beingness. Oh,
No one can abandon his beingness. That's a good translation. Or his source. Source. So creation is we translate as beingness. Creator we translate as source.
Can abandon its source.
Yeah, no one will know. So here we'll say no mind can abandon its source, because that's
Okay. Nor affect its perfect, timeless, and unchanging love. You will find a state of pure formless awareness, the state of pure formless awareness.
how about instead of find, you will experience.
Okay. It's raining. Yes.
Everything you seek but this will fall away.
Everything you seek, but this will fall away, yet not because it has been taken from you. It will go because you do not want it. You will reach the goal you really want, as certainly as pure formless awareness extended you in sinlessness, in light, in no.
We don't really have innocence, I'd say.
Mm,
Sinlessness is innocence.
mm.
You want to do that as a translation? We could leave it as sinlessness. What do you think? Pure formless awareness, of awareness, of perfect love. Pure formless awareness of perfect love extended you
In innocence, yeah. Real experience.
We don't actually have a translation for sin. I'm not sure there is one. So, but sinlessness is innocence. So it'll work. So read it from the top.
No one remains in victimhood, for no mind can abandon its source, nor affect its perfect, timeless, and unchanging love. You will experience the state of pure formless awareness. Everything you seek, but this, will fall away, yet not because it has been taken from you. It will go because you don't want it. You will reach the goal you really want, as certainly as pure formless awareness of perfect love extended you in innocence.
Yeah.
So, so he's saying that you won't always remain in this terrible place. You will experience pure formless awareness, and everything will fall away because you don't want it. You actually don't want it. You will reach your goal. So it's not a stick. It's an encouraging paragraph.
This is how it goes. So it gives us the stick to start with, just to open us up to like Jesus. Okay. Whoosh. There was a Jesus and there was a okay, because that's then opens us up to the truth.
Yeah.
Accepting what he's going to say a little bit later. So he's a master teacher and knows what he's doing with these lessons, doesn't he?
Yeah, indeed.
So it kind of warms us up into it. So you're giving a little summary there. It's a done deal. You are going to get to heaven. You cannot fail. There's a lot of encouragement, because sometimes you go, am I ever going to get there? It's going, it seems to be taking a lot of time, but relatively, what's 20 or 30 years in the grand scheme of time? It's nothing. It's a little drop in the ocean of time. So you will get there actually quite quickly under my guidance, and just trust that everything else is going to drop away. Heaven will be given you, and, pure formless awareness, perfect bliss is going to be yours for all eternity. Wow. That's nice to know. No more, duality to deal with. No more sickness and suffering and death. It's all just going to drop away, and I'm going to just rest in the most blissful, peaceful state that I can imagine. So imagine, your greatest
Yeah.
experience in this world. You have a like deep peace. We've all had times when we just feel, oh, I'm just really feeling so happy, peaceful, blissful. So, imagine that multiplied several times and experiencing that forever. And this is what he's offering us. So we wonder why would you resist that? Okay, happy with number 5. Moving swiftly on to number 6. Why wait for heaven?
Is that me? So why wait for heaven? It's here today. Time is the great illusion. It is past or in the future. Yet this cannot be. If it is where God wills his son to be, how could the will of God be in the past or yet to happen? What he wills is now, without a past and wholly futureless. It's as far as removed from time as a tiny candle from a distant star, or what you choose from what you really want.
Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of translation. Yad, do you remember what heaven was?
No, I don't remember your translations. I'm having terrible flashbacks to school, actually.
Huh? What was the translation? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you'll get it, don't worry. So it's a state of pure formless awareness. That's all heaven is. It's a state of mind. So the state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah, okay. It's just I don't necessarily, I understand what it is, what they're saying more. When I start picking the words apart, it kind of loses its sense to me, if you know what I mean. Because I don't know if I'm just sort of taking the whole thing rather than so.
The words, the pure formless awareness loses.
Well, when I pick it apart, it's piece by piece, so it's kind of I can't make sense of it.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
But it's possibly because I'm freaking out because of school, to be reminded of school. So it might be why my mind just goes.
Don't worry, there's no homework and there's no
there is, isn't there, really?
No enforceable homework. You do this willingly, entirely willingly. So why wait for the state? Is what he's saying. It's here today, so you can experience it right now. Time is the great illusion that it's past or future. In the past or in the future. Yet this cannot be. If it is where God wills his son to be. So can you get that as a translation?
I can't remember
what God is.
No, I don't remember. Oh, pure formless awareness. All right, okay.
Yeah, it's all the same. You start to go, it's all the same. Heaven, what we're talking about is one state of mind. Actually, that's what it is. God is a state of mind. Pure formless awareness is where pure formless awareness, the full translation is perfect love. So then you got 5 powerful pointers to an experience in that name of God. So the name itself becomes the pointer to the experience of it, which is what a good name should be. Wills his son to be. So wills his son is remember what son was?
No. Something love's extension or something, was it?
Extension, yeah. Wills its extension to be. Wills once or wills, what do you think? I think wills. I think let's stick with wills. What do you think?
I don't know. I've got a brain ache from doing this, actually.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, well.
quite painful.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah, well, I think I'll have
What
to
you're
do some
doing is
homework.
you just brain ache, you're rewiring. So
Yeah,
it's
oh, I know,
rewiring.
and there's a lot of that been going on over the last few weeks. I can feel it. It's,
Hmm.
yeah.
So how could the will of God?
You know,
So,
phone a friend, please.
no,
Phone a friend.
friend of a friend. Well, you have a couple here. Well, Diana's off in the kitchen, but Sally's here. So, will of God, Sally, any ideas?
I don't know about the will bit, pure formless awareness of perfect love is God, the will of God.
Yeah, well, actually, we translate will with the capital often as the awareness. So it's the awareness of perfect love. So we could just, how could the pure formless awareness of perfect love be in the past, yet to happen? You see. So actually, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because God, the will of God is awareness. So how could the awareness, maybe I'll just say, how could the awareness of perfect love be in the past? So will of God is awareness of perfect love. Be in the past or yet to happen. What it wills is now, without a past and wholly futureless. Without a past, futureless, I'm not sure about that. Maybe we just go without a past or future.
Mm.
Is futureless even a word? Maybe it is. I don't know. I think he made that one up. Without a past or future, okay. And then he uses an analogy. Benefit is far removed from time. This is a timing kernel from a distant star. Or what you chose from what you really want. So emphasizing that these things are poles apart, really. Ego and the spirit do not communicate at all. Okay, so can you give us a summary yet of that?
Well, saying that reassuring us that we can have this now and that the time isn't real.
The wills is now, not a past or future. Because how can this awareness be anywhere but now?
Hmm.
Can't experience perfect love in the past or in the future. It's a present experience. And time is the illusion that it's past or in the future, because that keeps it away from your awareness. Keeps you out of that awareness. That's all that the ego is trying to do. Okay, any thoughts on that? Happy to move on. Thoughts, comments, questions?
I don't understand that bit. It's as far removed from time because it's a comparison then. So what's it comparing? It's as far removed from time as a tiny kind of distant star of what you choose from what you really want. So there's that comparison. What's being compared? What the idea that we can't have it now.
So the it, you mean? It is as far removed.
Yeah, so that comparison there, what is that?
The awareness of perfect love or the will of God in the original is the it. So the awareness of perfect love is as far removed from time as is a tiny candle from a distant star.
All right, so they're nothing alike. Okay.
So nothing alike. Yeah, this awareness is not of time. It's using the metaphor to try and emphasize just how different it is. What you chose from what you really want. So the ego and the spirit are opposite. They're different thought systems, different realities, and they are removed from each other.
Okay. So
Formless awareness of perfect love has nothing to do with time.
Okay.
Okay. All right, happy to move on to number 7.
Heaven remains your one alternative to the strange world you made and all its ways. So state of pure formless awareness remains your one alternative.
Actually, I copied. Make sure we don't change anything. No.
And all its ways. Its shifting patterns and uncertain goals, its painful pleasures and its tragic joys. Pure formless awareness made no contradictions. What denies its own existence, and attacks itself is not of it. It did not make two minds with the state of pure formless awareness as the glad effect of one.
How about does not come from it?
What denies
Is not of
existence, attacks itself, does not come from it. Yeah?
Happy with that?
Yes?
Okay.
Yeah.
It did not make two minds. State of pure awareness.
Yeah. Good.
Glad effect of one. And earth, the other's sorry outcome. I like
I
it.
know, it's great. Which
The earth is a sorry outcome of a deluded mind, which is heaven's opposite in every way, which is the state of pure formless awareness is opposite, which is the opposite of, let's just do this,
yes.
the opposite of, and we'll just keep this. Opposite of pure formless awareness in every way.
Yeah.
Which you can see clearly. I mean, in pure formless awareness, there's no form. So, like a world of form is clearly completely opposite to a state of pure formless awareness. It has nothing to do with it whatsoever. This is really the teaching of the Course.
Yeah. There are no patterns, no goals, no pleasures, no joys, even as, in the formless state.
Yeah. None of that exists. It's simply, what can you say? Pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
It's an experience. You've got to experience it and go, oh, that is amazing. That feels so good compared with all of this stuff that my mind has been obsessed with for lifetime after lifetime, shifting patterns and uncertain goals, painful pleasures and tragic joys. To just have pure formless awareness, it's like nectar to the mind. It's like, oh, that's so nice. Just not to have to think of any of this rubbish that I've confused myself with for so many years.
But that's beautiful prose.
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah.
Painful pleasures and tragic joys. It's
sorry outcomes.
The sorry Earth is the sorry outcome. You can't accuse him of ever being ambiguous. It's like, okay, this is just a sorry outcome. So don't try and make it into something it's not. It's like Earth is your home. Earth is somewhere good and happy and nice. And saying no, it's just a sorry outcome of a delusional thought system. So don't hold it in mind anymore. Just let it go. Okay, happy to move on to number 8.
Yeah, and be happy in the allowing it to fall away.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we don't support and we don't enter in and we don't play our lives out, but with this huge understanding and knowing
Yeah.
underpinning it all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, pure formless awareness of perfect love. Oh, actually, I'm just translating. So, number 8, Yad or Sally.
Pure formless awareness. Shall I do the translation straight away?
Hmm.
Pure formless awareness does not suffer conflict, nor is the creator. Source, or is it beingness?
What do you think?
Nor is it source split in two.
Well, creation, no, creation isn't referring to the source directly. It's actually referring to the beingness, really. Creation is the beingness, nor is its beingness split in two.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. How could it be its extension? It's love extension.
Yeah.
Could be in victimhood. When pure formless awareness itself.
I might just be a victim. It's more direct, isn't it?
Yeah. When pure formless awareness itself established it in the state of pure formless awareness.
Let's say it's extensions, so we're clear. Yeah, in the state of so you start getting with this language, this translation, that it's all one. It's one state of mind, really. That's what we're being directed to. And all the words, it all seems quite similar. It's because it is. It's all the same. That's the truth of the matter. The state of pure formless awareness, the extension of pure formless awareness, the pure formless awareness of perfect love. You go, oh, well, actually, there's only one presence here, really. There's only one reality. And that's what the words are pointing you to.
Yeah, it can be a bit, for me, I'm getting tired now because it's like the brain is, really trying to fathom it all out.
Ah, stop.
Good.
It's not brain. It's not brain.
Sorry, yeah, mind.
Mind. Your
Good.
awareness. So, yeah, we'll I need to finish it at 12:30. So we'll just do a couple more paragraphs and then we'll go into practice. When we start the practice period, I'll go into the practice. Okay. So, could it lose what the eternal will? Could it lose what the eternal awareness? I think we should translate will as awareness there.
Okay. Has given it to be its home forever. Let us not try longer. Doesn't make quite sense, does it? Let us not try longer to impose an alien will upon pure formless awareness.
No, when it's a possessor, we generally do perfect love. It's just simpler. Perfect love, single purpose. It's kind of is nice. They've got a bit of alliteration going on. Perfect love, single purpose. There's a little thing to it.
Let's not try longer. All right, okay. Let us not try longer to impose an alien will upon perfect love's single purpose. It is here because it wills to be. and what it wills is present now, beyond the reach of time.
Okay. So you want to read it from the top?
Pure formless awareness of perfect love does not suffer conflict, nor is its beingness split in two. How could it be its extension could be a victim? How could it be its extension could be a victim? When pure formless awareness of perfect love itself established its extension in the state of pure formless awareness.
I think that needs that there. How could it be that its extension could be a victim? I think that makes it a bit simpler, doesn't it?
Yeah. Could it lose what the eternal awareness has given it to be its home forever? Let us not try longer to impose an alien will upon perfect love's single purpose. It is here because it wills to be, and what it wills is present now beyond the reach of time. Brain ache. But the other day,
nothing to do
sorry,
with
I said it again. I know.
nothing to do with the brain.
But the other day when we were doing this, I walked out the session and I'd got it in my head really well, or got it in my mind really well, and I was able to remember all the translations. And then, don't know, then resistance kicks in, doesn't it?
Like, well, what you're being shown here is pure formless awareness, perfect love, pure formless awareness, eternal. There we go. So in the words, it's pointing you to that state so clearly, isn't it? And the ego has huge resistance to pure formless awareness of perfect love. It doesn't want you to go into pure formless awareness of perfect love at all. It wants you to stay in the individuality, in the division of duality in your mind, the split mind.
Yeah. So it tells me I've got a brain that's getting very tired.
Yeah. But you don't have a brain.
No, I know. But exactly what it keeps saying to me.
Yeah, but so then you see, then the just the idea that you're a body and a brain, there's the split. You're in division of duality then, because you're not a mind anymore. You're not pure formless awareness of perfect love. You're a body, and it's trying to get you to identify with that and go. And the other night, that was what was going on for you, Iona, when you had that huge resistance. So now you're a body and you're tired and you need sleep, and what it's trying to do is pull you back into that awareness that you're a body and you have the limitations of the body to deal with. And this is taking you beyond all that. So, of course there's resistance, but that's all good. We carry on anyway.
Carry on regardless.
Yes. Keep calm and carry on, as Winston Churchill said. So, number 9, it's Yad. I think, is it Yad? Yad, do you want to read number 9?
I'll read it, but I won't be able to translate it for you as I go because I can't remember those things.
Well, that's fine. Just we'll go easy on you. Just read the original.
Today,
you can ask some mighty companions to help you.
Okay, yeah. Today we will not choose a paradox in place of truth. How could I can't remember what the Son of God is. So it's like translating it from Greek to Russian, really. Do you know what I mean? It's not making it easier for me to understand because I don't know the code that you're using.
Okay. So it's like another language you're learning. So
yeah, it is, but it's already like another language I'm learning. So I'm kind of starting off. Yeah. Anyway,
Greek to Russian. Yeah, that's interesting. But hopefully the translation in time will make more sense than the original. That's why we do it. So.
Well, Russian's more like Polish, and I speak Polish, so yeah, it makes sense. Okay. That was a good comparison.
Okay, all good then. So the Sun is extension, and God. Remember what God is?
Oh no, something awareness. I don't know. I can't remember. I know you said it so many times.
But isn't it so interesting? Just observe. Like it's a simple word. Pure formless awareness. Okay. And yet you can't remember it. So why?
No, I know. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. And remember, the ego's best defense against the truth is to forget.
Yeah.
It just wants to make you forget it. So.
It's having a field day today, then, isn't it? So, the will of perfect love.
Yeah. Or the will we make into awareness.
Awareness.
That's really what it is. It's the take away the awareness of perfect love.
He thus denies himself and contradicts what has no opposite.
So he is an it thus denies itself. So he's talking about your mind here. You're not, your mind doesn't have a gender. You're not male or female.
So why don't you write that? Why don't you just write it that way and actually rewrite it in your own words completely so that it makes sense?
So
why? So rather than translating it from Greek to Russian, why do you not use those words that he's talking about your mind? So why don't you say mind instead?
It thus denies itself. So, well, we could say the mind thus denies itself, but the it is the extension, and the extension of perfect love is just an awareness.
Well, I'll have to do some homework and just get used to
it.
it.
Yeah, so the idea is as you get used to this, you go, oh, okay, it's the extension again. I know what the extension is. It doesn't have to be defined every time in the actual text. So the extension is just the extension of this awareness. It's an extended awareness that's part of the original awareness. How can it not be if it's an extension of it? And yet this extension has somehow denied itself and contradicted what has no opposite. This is the delusion. So it thinks it made a hell. It made, remember what hell is?
No,
That's a good one. Remember that? Anyone like to help out?
Victim or victimhood? Or?
Yeah. Things it made victimhood opposing heaven, which is do you remember what heaven is yet?
No, sorry. Just like
just blanking
up here now.
It's the state of pure formless awareness. So when you're in that state, then you're in heaven, which means heaven is accessible now. You can opposing the state.
We're not quite there now, are we yet? We're in victimhood.
Well, it's just resistance. So what's happening is you're diving into something like whoa, and it takes a bit of getting used to. It's like another frequency. So that's.
Well, I know what you're doing. I understand what you're doing, but when I've done it myself, I've made it into I've changed it into completely different language so that I can understand it.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like. So I'm not changing just words. I'm changing the whole structure of the sentence.
Yeah.
And sort of paraphrasing it so that I can make sense of it.
Right.
No.
But
this is just, I say, this to me is I'm just translating from one language to another. And like, if I didn't understand the first language, then I'm not going to understand the next language, am I? Do you know what I mean?
Well, you may well, because the second language is more experiential. If you give it a chance.
Well, I need to understand those words then, and like you all experience this, so you know.
And as you go, you might start to have experiences. So if you have an experience of pure formless awareness, then you go, that's what it is. I get it. It's an experience. And so the words invite the experience, which may be around the corner for you. Who knows? You might do the meditation after this and drop into the state of pure formless awareness. Oh, wow, I see.
Have you got a key somewhere where you translate those words into?
Yeah, we have a glossary of terms. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then that would be useful.
So
if I have a look at that,
yeah,
I'll get up to speed.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
As you go, you learn it by translating. So as you show up to these sessions and you do the translations, you'll get the hang of it. Sooner or later, it's inevitable. Okay, so do you want to read it from the top? Make sure it all makes sense.
Today we will not choose a paradox in place of truth. How could the extension of perfect love Make time to take away the awareness of perfect love. It thus denies itself and contradicts what has no opposite. It thinks it made victimhood opposing the state of pure formless awareness and believes that he abides in what does not exist, while the state of pure formless awareness is the place he cannot find.
Yes,
And I cannot possibly tell you what that means. I haven't got a clue. It's just words.
Okay. Does the mighty companion want to help you out? What's he saying there?
He's saying, don't actually make a confusion, because the place of truth is right here. Despite what's actually appearing in form, Yad, you know, it just seems like a mighty confusion, but actually it's very simple. It has no opposite.
The delusion is we think, you see, we think we've made an opposite. We think we've made an opposite to the pure formless awareness of perfect love. We think we dwell in that state. We think this is now reality. And he's saying this is a delusion. It's not really possible. So you're living in an impossible idea. And what can you expect from an impossible idea but pain, suffering, and death? Because that's what that idea will lead to. An impossible idea believed in leads to all of that, all of these undesirable consequences of the ego. And yet, the state of pure formless awareness is there. It's always been there. It's just covered over by all these crazy ideas and thoughts that you've invented to cover it over. And I had my little mystic experience into pure formless awareness, where I actually experienced this for a while, a few moments, a minute, something like that. It wasn't very long. It became so obvious afterwards. So Spirit interpreted that the entire world is just a covering over that awareness. We've made up the entire cosmos of time and space to justify the thoughts and emotions that cover that awareness. That's it. That's the whole game. That's the veil of illusion. And that was like so visceral. I absolutely got that as a kind of download. And then I just cried. It was so sad. I was like, how could I have done that? That's the most insane thing to have done. You have this pristine, pure formless awareness in which all happiness and joy lies. And then you want to go cover it over and believe in all kinds of illusions and torment yourself forever, seemingly, in this crazy place that you've invented. And it's just so ridiculous and futile and sad. And I couldn't help but cry. It's like, oh, this is just. But it was a really good experience, because it showed me that this is the truth. And so then I came up with this term. I said, well, how could I describe that state? And all I could come up with, the best description, was pure formless awareness. That's all it was. And so hence, the name. But it is experience that so it makes sense to me because I've had the experience. And in time, it'll make sense to you because you're inviting the experience through the words. And so you have an experience. You go, oh, that's what he's been talking about all this time. I get it now. It's just the experience of pure formless awareness. And what else could I call it but that? So the name just points you to the state that it represents, which is what every good name should do. So I don't think God is a particularly good pointer to what it really is, because it's been misused and people have all kinds of false associations. So you say God, a lot of people really don't have a state of pure formless awareness. In fact, they have quite the opposite in reaction to that name. So, then we translate the word to hopefully give them, more experiential access to the state that name is pointing to. And that's what a good name should do. It should point you to the direct experience of the state that it's pointing to. Okay, so that kind of takes us into practice. One more paragraph, and then we'll go into meditation, shall we? So, Sally, if you read that one for us.
Leave foolish thoughts like these behind today and turn your mind to true ideas instead.
No one can fail who seeks to reach the truth, and it is truth we seek to reach today. We will devote 10 minutes to this goal 3 times today, and we will ask to see the rising of the real world to replace the foolish images that we hold dear, with true ideas arising in the place of thoughts that have no meaning, no effect, and neither source nor substance in the truth.
Okay then, any thoughts on that?
I like the idea of it all just falling away, that's for sure. Mm-hmm.
Asked to see the rising of the real world. So do you understand what the real world is?
Mm.
Huh? What does he mean by the real world?
Truth of perfect love.
No, actually, what it means is the world of form reinterpreted by the spirit, by the awareness of remembrance of love.
Is it not like seeing everyone as love, as oneness, as all connected?
So you're still in perception, you're seeing the world, but the real world replaces these images. So you see the bodies, you see the forms, but your interpretation of them is completely different. So you see underlying it is the oneness. Yes, everything's one, everything's connected. It's actually all part of the source of which is pure formless awareness of perfect love. And you see that everywhere. You perceive that everywhere. That's the real world. Arising to replace the foolish images that you hold dear, with true ideas in the place of thoughts that have no meaning, neither source nor substance in the truth. So all of these foolish images and the misinterpretation of images, that's the problem. See, we misinterpret the images. We give them a reality and a meaning that they don't have. So he's asking us with this mind training to say, don't misinterpret them. Just see them as they really are. These are all underlying every image in this world is the state of pure formless awareness, right? It's the awareness without which there could be no awareness of anything else. Without that fundamental awareness, you could have no perception. You could have no world. See? So you're going to the very essence, the very foundation of it all, the starting point, the alpha and the omega, put it in a different language. It's saying, well, root yourself, stay rooted in that awareness, the primal awareness that preceded time and space and form, and recognize that that awareness is still in everything. It has to be, because it's the foundation, without which it would have no existence. You see. So that's then seeing the real world. You see only that awareness underlying everything. And you're not fooled by the illusions of form that seem to cover over that awareness, because that's all the veil of illusion is. It's a covering over the pure formless awareness of perfect love, trying to convince you that that is no longer true, and that the images that you've made are true, and all the states, the emotions, the thoughts and emotions are true. That's really the crux of it. Because you've got all these images flashing at you all the time that then seem to trigger all these false thoughts and emotions, you're now convinced that those false thoughts and emotions are reality, and that's who you are. But the fear and the desire and the guilt and the all of the ego's Pandora's box of emotions are true and real. And actually all the world is doing is providing the justification for those. So the veil of illusion is, it starts with form, and then from perception, it seems to justify the emotions and the thoughts and the beliefs that underpin them. And hence you have your diagram. See, perception at the top, emotion underlying it, then thought, and then belief. And at the core of it all, in the ego, is the desire for the separation, to be an individual self, to be in division of duality. And that desire is a death wish. And Yeshua's saying, you've got to change that. Go all the way, track all the way through this. Look beyond the perception to the emotion and the thought and the belief that underlie all emotion to the fundamental desire. Once you see what that desire is, okay, this is just a death wish, and really I don't want this desire, there's the miracle. Once you have that realization, then you let it go. You have to, because you go, well, why would I want a death wish? It makes no sense. And now your desire becomes for oneness or at one-ment, And now that desire changes the belief, thought, emotion, and it ripples all the way back up into a transformed perception of the seemingly external world. That transformed perception is the real world. That's what he's talking about. So the transformed perception is the product of the miracle, of this process of going within, correcting the mind, and now perceiving whatever you see on the level of form, which still seems to be there, but your interpretation of it has changed radically because the belief underlying it and what you really want to see has changed. And so that's the whole process of the miracle that he's training us to do. And the diagram kind of demonstrates that quite nicely. By the way, yeah, did you go through your what we did yesterday? Was that helpful on your own?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. It was really helpful.
Hmm.
I had a lot of resistance to going through it, but then that's my MO. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Go. Like actually spend the time reading through it because it
Yeah.
really spells it out. And so the process of using the worksheet then is the process of undoing it because it just makes it so obvious what's happening. Okay, so I think that leads us into practice. We're now at number 11. He's saying, I'll begin with this. I asked to see a different world. So given I've got about 23 minutes to my next meeting, so we go into a meditation. I'll guide you through this.
Yeah.
Cool. So making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart. Your back straight. Clap your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And just pausing at the top of the inhale. Clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. All the way up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind, so noticing any thoughts and emotions, any sensations going on in the body. Just breathe into all of that, creating some space, some light, some awareness. Awareness in the mind of what's going on. And if there's anything troubling you, any illusions, false thoughts, beliefs, fear, anger, hatred, any other ego's negative thoughts and emotional states, just breathe into them, create some space around them. The breath creates the spacious awareness, the pure formless awareness in which the healing happens. Now say to yourself, I ask to see a different world. And think a different kind of thought from those I made. So the real problem is perceptual. I have invented the world I see. I make these thoughts real to myself. I've made it all up. The world I seek, this true reality, transcendent reality that I seek, I did not make alone. And so the thoughts I want to think are not my own. And then on the truth of that, exhale. Just have a sense of really letting go. letting it all go into the nothingness that it really is. Going, going, gone. Lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here for a few moments in the silence and the stillness that arises in the gap between breaths and the gap between words. The still silent embrace that you sink into. Watch your mind. See, although your eyes are closed, the senseless world you think is real. As you do this, just breathe in and out through your nose. Observe the subtle sensations of the breath. Going into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. Review the thoughts as well, which are compatible with such a world. So maybe some images come to mind, images of your life, the world, past, future. Review these thoughts, just look at them, some detachment just from the state of true awareness in you. Review these thoughts and any emotions that go along with them, that you think are true. Just breathe into them. Imagine you breathing a beautiful golden or white light into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind is in the light. Now just let all these go. You can imagine that they're like clouds just scudding across your mind. They have no power to obscure the pure formless awareness that is the blue sky, the light of perfect love that is your source. So let those shine through as you exhale. Just let these thoughts and these emotions go. Imagine you blowing them away, the breeze of your breath, like dark clouds leaving you, going, going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Again, just rest in the peace of pure formless awareness, the peace that passes all understanding. It's been called in the Bible. There's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. Just sink inwards, sink below these thoughts to the holy place where they cannot enter. And there is a door beneath them in your mind that you could not completely lock to hide what lies beyond. So just helps you imagine going beyond the door. You open the door and you walk through into a world of light. It's just light, the name for which is the pure formless awareness. Of perfect love. Seek for this door and this door only and find it. Before you try to open it, remind yourself, no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. And there's this request you make today. Only the truth do you want. Nothing but this has any meaning now. No other goal is valued or sought. You have nothing to bar your way to this door. Nothing before this door, on this side, in the dream world, that you really want. And only what lies past it do you seek. So you're only looking for transcendent truth, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So now put out your hand. Imagine you opening the door. See how easily the door swings open. With your one intent to go beyond it. Angels light the way. So that all darkness or limited awareness vanishes. And you're standing in a light so bright and clear that you can understand all things you see. So imagine you're in pure formless awareness. And in the light, maybe you visualize, you see a golden or white light, maybe you just experience it. Feel a sense of lightness. Maybe there's a tiny moment of surprise. It'll make you pause before you realize the world you see before you. And the light reflects the truth you knew and did not quite forget in wandering away in dreams. So nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just sink into this pure formless awareness of perfect love. You cannot fail today. There walks with you the spirit heaven sent you. You might approach this door someday and through its aid slip effortlessly past it to the light. Today that day has come. Today God, your formless awareness of perfect love, keeps its ancient promise to its holy extension, which is you. And you remember your promise to God that one day you would return, that one day you would awaken to this true awareness once again. And that day has come today. So this is a day of gladness. This is a day of gladness. We come to the appointed time and place where you will find the goal of all your searching here and all the seeking of the world, which end together as you pass beyond the door. So go through the door into the light. The door disappears, everything disappears. There is just perfect light, pure formless awareness, perfect light, and perfect love. And so you sink inwards to this light. Give yourself a couple of minutes of deep silence. You just surrender to the light completely. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. nothing else to think about. Just surrender to the light. Merge into it. You are it. It is you. You are the pure form of someone else. Perfect love. You are the light. So give yourself over to the experience fully. Allow it to show you the truth that you cannot fail to find if you seek it today. So any thoughts, any emotions coming up seem to disturb that light. Just notice them. Remind yourself that no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. It's the truth you want, and only that. So you let them go. They're just cloud patterns. Breathe them away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. And sink back into the light for another minute or so of deep silence. So just gently coming back. An awareness of the body and the breath, the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just observing any thoughts and emotions going on. Breathe into them. Create some space, some light, some awareness. And again, release as you exhale, letting them go like clouds. Being blown away by the breeze of your breath. Notice the air flowing out of your mouth, chest and the stomach sucked back in. Notice the energy you raised up into the crown of your head, subsiding back down to the lower stomach and the groin. Let it all go into the nothingness that it really is. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling, touching with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose as you breathe in. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from a very still, calm, and surrendered place, in which the truth is present with you always. Just remind yourself, today I seek and find all that I want. A single purpose offers it to me. Because no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. That includes me. So stay rooted in the truth by reminding yourself of today's lesson frequently. Ideally every hour. I've sent you a short breath break recording to help you do that, or instructions to do it in under a minute. Practice well for the next few hours, and join us this evening at 8:30 for a dive into the text, and we'll also do a meditation again on today's lesson. So on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around, noticing the various objects in the room around you in this very calm, detached way. Noticing that this awareness that was there when you were in deep meditation with closed eyes is still there. So it still underlies all of your sense perceptions. And you're going to stay rooted in that. Set the intention to stay rooted in that. Use today's idea to help you do that. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and this afternoon session. So thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you either later tonight or tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Namaste. Are you joining tonight, Iona?
After Pilates.
Okay, so a little bit later.
Mhm.
Like what, 9 o'clock or something?
Yeah.
Okay, great.